From the outside, it might look like another Ramadan, another round of clashes at Al-Aqsa Mosque. But for the people of Palestine, Israeli forces stormed into the second holiest site in Islam as worshippers gathered to pray. This has become some kind of a template year after year. What does it look like to live there? We bring you this story from the biggest news in West Asia this week. Let's take a look. It was in the pre-dawn hours. Palestinians were just going to break their morning fast. But the Israeli police had other plans. They stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The worshippers narrate a story of thrashing, assault, and suffocation. They say occupiers punished them for the simple act of praying. Israel says its security forces were forced to enter the prayer halls because some quote-unquote agitators barricaded themselves inside the mosque. They point to a rule that worshippers cannot stay inside the mosque overnight during Ramadan.
I was praying and I was sitting on a chair, reciting the Quran. The Israeli police hurled stun grenades. One of them hit my chest. Now my family will see me and they will feel terrible.
Soon, videos emerged of Israeli forces beating worshippers. The word spread. Protests broke out in the West Bank. But the raid continued till morning. Palestinian Red Crescent says Israeli forces prevented its medics from reaching Al-Aqsa. That day alone, 400 Palestinians were arrested. Tensions have spiraled since. Missiles, protests, and West Bank shooting. This is a religious site holy to 3 different religions. For the Muslims, it is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. For Jews, it is the Temple Mount. And for Christians, it is Mount Moriah. This is also a really sensitive time. Palestinians are celebrating Ramadan and have to visit the site for prayers. It's also Passover for Jews and Easter for Christian Palestinians. Tensions are always brewing in this compound. A long conflict that involves history, geography, and above all, religion. Unfortunately, these flare-ups have become a yearly affair. This is what happened in 2022. Israeli police raided the Al-Aqsa Mosque and arrested hundreds of Palestinian worshippers. More than 100 people were left injured in the scuffle. The year also came to be known as the deadliest year in the conflict's recent history. A year earlier, it was the same story, maybe even worse. What started as protests against Sheikh Jarrah evictions soon turned into a full-blown war. At least 256 Palestinians, including 66 children and 40 women, were killed, and 13 people died in Israel. In 2020, the Al-Aqsa Mosque was closed for Muslim worshippers due to the pandemic. Israeli soldiers fired tear gas and rubber-coated rounds on Muslim worshippers. Many were injured, including a Palestinian member of Israel's Knesset. Nationalist and religious politicians demanded that Jews should visit the holy compound. The clashes arise because Israel and Palestine follow different rule books. The status quo says only Muslims can pray there. Non-Muslims can only visit, and a committee by Jordan is supposed to control this access. But since Israel controls East Jerusalem, it also controls the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So ultimately, the Israeli police decide who has access and who does not. They have completely rejected Jordan's committee and are openly targeting Palestinian worshippers.
We have no intention of changing the status quo on the Temple Mount. We are calling for calming the situation, and we will take strong action against extremists who use violence there.
This region is known to be volatile. It is always just a flare-up away from a war. One clash, one episode of exchange of fire, and before you know it, a war has broken out. Peace talks, two-state solution, UN brokered deals, everything has failed. What lives on are the seeds of the conflict, fertile ground for hostilities, decades of trauma, and an uncertain future.